This is Live and Local with Kevin Wall on AM 670 KMZQ. Talk radio done right.
I know we are continuing our series of interviews with folks making a difference here in Southern Nevada. This segment, though, has quickly become one of my favorites, and I know it's something that you seem to like as well from your reaction. Let's check in with Marla Letitia, a.k.a. Nanny Bubby. She is a regular on Instagram and Facebook, and she joins us. Marla, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
I am doing great. We had all the rain over the weekend, and now it's clear sailing for a while. Over the last few weeks, I know we talked a lot about the long life era, how it can make for a longer, for a healthier life. Let me dig a little deeper, though. Can we revisit the purpose of the long life era community?
Yeah, it always feels good to repeat it, Kevin, just because the audience changes, every Wednesday, and this will give everybody listening today a better idea of what we're doing here. So there are 3 areas of your health span, not your lifespan. Your lifespan is binary. It's birth and death. But we have what's called a health span, and we want to live as healthy as long as we possibly can. And those are 3 areas. Number 1, physical health, that you go to your doctor, that's your lipid values, your blood values, etc. Your cognitive health, also medical doctor, following to be sure that you're doing what you need to do for brain health. And the 3rd is the emotional health. And the emotional health is the most complicated because it takes in so many different things. It takes in emotions of anger, fear, resentment, depression, just to name a few. Also, those are things that you might want to see a therapist over. But the one area that I find that I am really keen into and that I am quickly becoming the known expert for is the mindset of growing older. So we have this vacuum. No one wants to grow old, but no one wants to die young, right? So what are we doing, and how do we live this wonderful life moving forward? And I will tell you that what happens is if you are being interviewed by a life insurance agent who wants to sell you life insurance, the very first thing that they ask you, do you know what it is actually? Kevin, do you know what that might be, what they ask you, the life insurance agent?
No, basically they ask you your health. How's your health?
Right, they ask you your health. But believe it or not, they ask you a question first before they start talking about, doing the health questionnaire. And that question is, how long do you see yourself living? And people have an answer for that. Everybody comes up with an answer. And 85% of all people that answer that question actually die in that year. So just out of curiosity, to make the show interesting and for you and I to be having a dialogue, not a monologue, what do you answer to that question? Like just off the top of your head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, quick answer. What's your number?
100 years. It's an even number.
Okay, and it's always been that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, good. That is a good sign, right? Because you have an 85% chance of living to that number, says you by that answer. But let me tell you, when people will say something like 77 or 85, or they have these obscure numbers that they say 78. The reason they go to those numbers, at some point in their life, they observed somebody who began to suffer at that age and then lived long and longer and suffered, beyond the age of 77 with either the pain of bad knees or some debilitating disease. And so people say, I don't want to live past 77 because subconsciously they observed somebody suffering for many years and they don't want to do that. So we want to stay keyed into that mindset and know, I just interviewed a 102-year-old woman, and believe it or not, she had 2 knee replacements in her 70s, in her late 70s. And now she doesn't have pain, but I will bet you dollars to donuts, because that's about all we have, is that if she had continued with that severe knee pain throughout her life, she might not still be alive today at 102 years old, which I find very, very interesting. The other thing I want to visit is loneliness. So loneliness, I want to just say again, has the impact on your health of smoking. It's 2 times worse. Loneliness is 2 times worse than 6 drinks a day. It is worse than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's 3 times worse than having never exercised throughout your life, and 4 times worse than being obese. And on top of that, it impacts your mental health. And so last week I wanted to talk about the Rosetto study, which I do want to do again because I find this to be so fascinating. And it's why people at any age, but certainly as they get into their long life era, really need to be in a community where they're not only just in a digital community like Facebook community, like what we have, Long Life Era Community on Facebook. You can ask to join at any time. But also IRL, which you now know what that means. Do you remember what it means, IRL?
Try me.
From last week, it means in real life. Oh. So people need an in real life IRL connection. So what they found is that quickly, in the 1950s, heart disease arrived in America. And it was consistent statistically across the board. All the stats, especially with men, were showing heart disease because our food became a little more industrialized at that time, and boy, it really impacted us and our heart disease. Well, it was not impacted in a small community in Pennsylvania called Rosetto. And nobody can understand why the men of Rosetto were not suffering from the same heart disease in the 1950s that the rest of this country was. And what they found was that they were connected in a very tight community. And they were eating pasta, they were eating fat, they were eating meatballs, they were smoking, they were drinking, but you had multi-generations living in the same household. The American sprawl had not taken place in Rosetto as of yet. They were still very close in community. They were just as tight as the community. And it wasn't until the late 1960s that Rosetto began the sprawl. People started moving away. They were not multi-generational anymore. And what do you think happened?
What happened?
Heart disease took over Rosetto, and their stats became the same as everyone else in the country. So it makes the point that we can be digitally connected, but I'll say it again. If I send you, Kevin, a digital hug, it is not the same as sitting down with you for a cup of coffee, giving you a hug when I see you, giving you a hug when I leave, laughing, making eye contact, and smiling. So in the Long Life Era community, not only did we blow up as a digital community on Facebook, but it is definitely my goal, having read all this study, to bring us together IRL in real life. So I hope everyone will join us. And I will say I got the great news, if I can share, that I have been asked and have accepted being a speaker at the Aging Wellness Expo put on by the Review Journal, sponsored by Optum Healthcare. And I'm going to be speaking live in person about Long Life Era Community. And so that's our first IRL event in the Long Life Era Community, and I hope everyone will come out and join us. It's September 30th. I'm speaking at 11 a.m.
That is amazing. So how can folks learn more about the Long Life Era and your Facebook group, and what will they find when they go to your Facebook group?
Well, they're going to find a community of people talking and laughing together. So we are, and people post, not just me, everybody else who's in the community that has overcome their shyness in the group, if you will come across some reading of like someone posted about Charlie Chaplin and some words that he said as he grew to be 88 years old. And they were very inspirational inspirational words, as well as Hedy Newman, or Hedy Lamarr, I think it was. Things that, very inspirational quotes. There's a doctor who is a member who posts very frequently medical science and what they're finding about living longer. And so, and there's a lot of comedy going on in there, like what was your dad's job in the 60s, or what was your favorite TV show in the 50s. We're definitely a community of baby boomers, of which there's 73 million of them. And so you can find us on Facebook at Long Life Era Community. And we do have an Instagram page, which really needs a lot of work. So you might as well just stay off there till we get it tweaked, but it has started. And every one of these radio shows that I do with you, Kevin, are posted in Long Life Era Instagram, as well as the Nanny Bubby Instagram and Facebook page. So there you have it.
Marla, always fun. Let's talk again next week, okay?
I love it. See you then. Bye, everybody.
Marla Letitia, a.k.a. Nanny Bubby. You see her all over the place, and she is expanding her empire. I love that. Stay with us. More to do as we continue on AM 670 KMZQ.